The unbelievable and chilling life story of Mary, the only woman mentioned by name in the Quran, promised paradise, the very symbol of purity. She spoke with the angel Gabriel, chosen and beloved by God, a mother who conceived in the most miraculous way, a woman who stood strong through waves of slander, yet remained pure and untouched. Her life is wrapped in mystery. She is the epitome of chastity, Mary, the blessed. You see, the Quran usually doesn't mention women by name, but there's one exception, Mary, because she wasn't just any woman. Her name is mentioned 34 times in the Quran. Why? Because the Israelites raised questions about Mary and her son Jesus, who was born without a father. So God made it clear, her name, her honor, her story were protected. She never engaged in gossip. She never touched sin. She stayed far away from corruption and disbelief. Even in this life, she was gifted with divine blessings. Her story carries endless messages, especially for women, because Mary was born in a time when women weren't even seen as people. Girls were buried alive simply for being born. And in Jewish tradition back then, women had no place, no voice. Yet in the heart of such a dark society, Mary lived a life so pure, she became a light for all of humanity. She was the daughter of Imran, a respected scholar and descendant of King David, a noble lineage among the children of Israel. Mary is also one of the 4 women promised paradise. In Islam, she's the embodiment of patience, obedience, and purity. Her father Imran lived in Nazareth. One night, he had a dream. He saw himself lighting the lanterns of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. He took it as a divine sign and moved his entire family to the sacred city to serve in the holy sanctuary, Beit al-Maqdis. Back then, the temple, built by Solomon, was a center for teaching and prayer, but only boys were allowed inside. Women weren't even permitted to enter. And yet, God had a different plan. In a place where even the presence of women was forbidden, God was preparing the stage for one of the greatest miracles in human history. Imran and his wife Hannah were elderly and childless. Hannah was barren. She had never been able to conceive. One day she saw a bird feeding its baby in a nest. It broke her heart. She longed for a child of her own. Still, she didn't lose hope. She never blamed God. She bore her pain with patience because she knew it was all a test. Hannah raised her hands and made a heartfelt prayer. Lord, if you give me a child, I will dedicate them to serve in the holy sanctuary of Beit al-Maqdis. Her prayer was so sincere and full of faith, God accepted it. Even in her old age, Hannah became pregnant. She waited for the birth with hope and excitement, but when the time came, she gave birth to a baby girl. She had been expecting a boy because only boys were allowed into the sanctuary. The birth of a girl brought disappointment to many. And soon after Mary was born, her father Imran passed away. That left Hannah with even more responsibility. But she never backed down from her promise. She didn't lose hope. God had willed for this child to be a girl, and Hannah, with full determination, still fulfilled her vow. She said, Lord, I have given birth to a girl, but a boy is not like a girl. I have named her Mary, and I seek your protection for her and her descendants from the accursed devil. The name Mary means servant, or one who is dedicated to worship. Hannah wanted her daughter to grow up surrounded by love and faith, so she brought her to the temple. She stood before the scholars and said, I've dedicated this child to the service of the sanctuary. The scholars were shocked. At that time, girls were not accepted into the temple, but they couldn't deny the sincerity of this mother, so they agreed to take the child in. And to decide who would take care of her, they drew lots. Among them was Prophet Zechariah, who said, I should take care of her, she's the daughter of my wife's sister. And when the lot was drawn, it landed on Zechariah. He became Mary's guardian. He had a special room built for her in the sanctuary, a private chamber high above the ground. Only he was allowed to enter. The room could only be reached by a ladder. And there, Mary grew up. From childhood, she lived a life full of worship and service, dedicated completely to God. This moment is described in the Quran like this. When the wife of Imran said, Lord, I have dedicated what's in my womb entirely to you, so accept it from me. You are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Hannah could have said, "It's a girl," and stepped back. She could have said, "If it were a boy, I'd dedicate him." But now, what's the point? But she didn't. She didn't break her promise. She gave her newborn daughter to God with full submission. That act of faith became a timeless symbol of devotion. "Accept this from me," she prayed. "Surely you hear all prayers and know every intention in our hearts." As mentioned in verse 35 of Surah Al-Imran, Hannah dedicated her unborn child solely for the service of God, and God accepted her offering. Mary grew up under the care of a prophet. Zechariah built her a special chamber inside the temple, and Mary spent her days in worship. She prayed, she bowed, she poured her heart into her devotion. Whenever Zechariah entered her room, he would find food beside her, but not just any food. In the middle of winter, he'd see fresh summer fruits. In the heat of summer, there'd be fruits that only grow in the cold. It was miraculous. Stunned, he asked her, "Mary, where is all this coming from?" She replied, "It is from God. Surely God provides without limit to whom he wills." The Quran describes it this way: her Lord accepted her graciously, raised her beautifully, and placed her under the care of Zechariah. Every time he entered her chamber, he found a provision there. These miracles revealed just how special Mary was. God was raising the future mother of a prophet, with gifts sent straight from heaven. In that pure and peaceful space, Mary grew into a woman of honor, devotion, and faith. Mary's encounter with the angel Gabriel. One day, God sent the angel Gabriel to Mary, but this time he appeared not as a glowing angel, but as a handsome young man with a bright and peaceful face. Mary didn't know who he was, and fear instantly struck her heart. She thought he might try to harm her. There was no one around, no one to call for help. She had only one place to turn, her Lord. So she said, "I seek refuge in the most merciful from you. If you fear God, do not come near me." If Gabriel had come in his true angelic form, she might have fainted from fear or run away without hearing what he had to say. So God made him appear as a man calm and gentle to ease her fear. Gabriel spoke, "I am only a messenger from your Lord. I've come to give you a pure and righteous son." Hearing this, Mary was in shock. Even though this had been hinted at before, her human heart struggled to grasp it. She was pure. She had never been touched by any man. She asked, "How can I have a child? No man has ever come near me." Then she added, "I am not an unchaste woman." Gabriel replied, "It will happen just as I said. Your Lord has declared, this is easy for me. We will make him a sign for all of humanity and a mercy from us. This is already decreed." And just like that, it was done. God willed that Jesus be born without a father. The Quran describes it beautifully. And remember Mary, who guarded her purity. We breathed into her from our spirit and made her and her son a sign for all the worlds. Through a divine command, God breathed into her spirit, and she conceived. It wasn't just a miracle for her. It was a test, a sign, a moment that would challenge the faith of all mankind. When Mary realized she was pregnant, she was overwhelmed with shock. What would people say? How could she explain something like this? There were no answers, just silence. And so she withdrew from the world. She went far away to a place where no one would find her alone, completely alone. Then the day came. Her labor pains began, and her fear grew stronger with every moment she felt utterly helpless. In a whisper, she said words soaked in sorrow. "I wish I had died before this and was completely forgotten." But right then, God's mercy reached her again. Gabriel spoke to her by God's command. "Don't be sad, Mary. Your Lord has made a stream flow beneath you. Shake the trunk of the palm tree toward you, and fresh ripe dates will fall down. Eat, drink, and let your heart be comforted." These words gave Mary strength. She gathered herself and made a vow. "Today, I will not speak to anyone. I have promised silence for the sake of the most merciful." She held her newborn child in her arms. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her heart was steady now. She returned to her people, and just as she feared, the accusations came crashing down. "Oh, Mary, sister of Aaron, you've done something terrible. Your father was not a wicked man. Your mother was not unchaste." Mary didn't respond. She simply pointed to the baby in her arms. They stared at her, confused. "You want us to speak to a baby in a cradle?" And then a miracle silenced them all. By God's will, the baby Jesus spoke. I am the servant of God. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. He has blessed me wherever I go and commanded me to pray and give charity as long as I live. He has made me kind to my mother and not arrogant or rebellious. This miracle froze every face in the crowd. A baby had just spoken, and with just a few words, he answered every accusation and cleared his mother's name. This was a miracle from God. The baby in the cradle kept speaking, "Peace was upon me the day I was born, the day I will die, and the day I will be brought back to life." To hear such words from a newborn was beyond human understanding. It was a miracle that left everyone speechless. God says in the Quran, "This is Jesus, son of Mary, the truth about whom they argue. There is no God but God." In these verses, God makes it clear that Jesus was born without a father. Just like any human, he will die and be resurrected. It was a miracle that happened right in front of everyone's eyes, a truth no one could deny. The Quran gives detailed accounts of Mary's story and the miraculous birth of Jesus. Why? Because the Jews and Christians had fallen into deep confusion, and God wanted to set the record straight. This is Jesus, the son of Mary, God says. He spoke the truth. Still, many hearts remained filled with doubt. Arguments between Jews and Christians continued. So God gave another comparison. The likeness of Jesus in God's eyes is like that of Adam. He created him from dust, then said, "Be," and he was. Al-Imran 59. If we believe that Adam was created from dust, we must also believe that Jesus could be born without a father. Those who have doubt in their hearts reject this, but those who submit hold firmly to the verses and believe in the miracle. God then sends this message through his messenger. This is the truth from your Lord. So do not be among those who doubt. Years later, after Jesus was raised up into the heavens, Mary lived for 6 more years. She spent the rest of her life in worship and remembrance of God. One day she walked into the desert, tired. She lay down at the foot of a mountain, looked up at the sky, and never got up again. According to tradition, God sent angels from paradise to wash her body and cover her in white cloth. No one knows where she was buried, but her place with God is certain. Mary passed away at the age of 56. She is one of the 4 women promised paradise, alongside Asya, Khadijah, and Fatima. The Quran praises her as a role model for all believers, and mention Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity. We breathed into her from our spirit. She believed in her Lord's words and his scriptures, and she was among the obedient. Tahrim 12. Mary stayed loyal to her Creator all her life. She preserved her purity. She was patient. She submitted completely. And she remains one of the greatest women in human history, forever remembered in the hearts of the faithful. May God grant us hearts as pure, souls as patient, and faith as strong as Mary's. Amin.